The dying light. The stars were dying, and Admiral Doyen knew humanity had only hours left. He stood on the bridge of the battleship Sol, watching the view screen with tired eyes. Outside, thousands of enemy ships swarmed like angry insects. They were called the Varathians, and they had already eaten half the galaxy. Every world they touched turned silent. Every species they found became part of their massive hive mind. Earth was next. Doyen had fought them for 3 years. He had won some battles and lost many more. But now, at the edge of humanity's solar system, he knew the truth. They could not win. There were simply too many enemies and too few human ships left. "Sir, we've lost the western flank," reported Captain Minji from her station. Her voice was steady, but Doyen could hear the fear underneath. "The defense stations at Kuiper Belt are falling one by one." Doyen nodded slowly. Behind them on Earth, 4 billion people waited. The evacuation ships were ready, but there was nowhere to go. The Varathians were everywhere. Every system that could support human life was already under their control, or soon would be. "All ships, fall back to final defensive positions," Doyen ordered. His crew moved quickly, but everyone knew what this meant. They were preparing to die. Then something impossible happened. A single ship appeared on their sensors. It was not human, and it was not Varathian. It was something else entirely. The ship looked like it was made of crystal and light, beautiful even in the middle of this nightmare. "Unknown vessel approaching," called out Lieutenant Junho. "They're broadcasting on all channels." "Put it through," Doyen said. The view screen changed, and Doyen found himself looking at an alien unlike anything he had seen before. The creature seemed to be made of living crystal, with light flowing through its body like blood. Its eyes were sad and ancient. "I am Captain Thelmara of the Kelhari people," the alien said. Its voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "We have been running from the Varathians for 30 years. We are the last of our kind. Our worlds are gone. Our people are dead. Only this one ship remains." Doyen felt his heart sink. "Another dying species just like humanity. We have something that might help you," Thelmara continued. "We have been searching for someone to give it to. Someone who might survive. Someone who deserves to live." "Why us?" Doyen asked. "You don't even know us." The crystal alien seemed to smile, though its face was difficult to read. "Because you are still fighting. Because you have not given up, even though you know you cannot win. That is worth saving." A data package began downloading to the Sol's computers. Doyen watched the numbers climb as gigabytes of information poured in. His science officer, a young woman named Yuna, gasped as she reviewed the incoming data. "Sir, this is incredible," Yuna said, her fingers flying across her console. "This is their entire technological database. Power systems we've never dreamed of. Faster than light travel that could take us anywhere in the galaxy. Stealth technology that could hide entire planets, but there was more." Thelmara's image leaned forward, and Doyen could see the sadness in those crystalline eyes. "There is also something else," the Kelhari captain said. "The coordinates to our last hidden colony. We were going there to hide, to rebuild. But we know the truth now. The Varathians will find us eventually. They always do. But you humans, you might escape. You might survive. Come with us," Doyen said suddenly. "We can protect you. We can work together." Thelmara's light pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. "No, we are too few and we are too tired. But we can give you time. Our ship carries a weapon. One last gift from our ancestors. It will destroy our ship and everything around it. It will buy you perhaps 6 hours. Maybe 8 if you are lucky." Yuna stood up from her station, tears already forming in her eyes. "You don't have to do this." "Yes, we do," Thelmara said gently. "Someone must survive to remember. Someone must carry forward the story of what the Varathians have done. Let it be you, humans. Let it be you who remembers us." The Kelhari ship began to move, flying directly toward the largest concentration of Varathian vessels. Doyen wanted to stop them, wanted to order his ships to protect them, but he knew it would be pointless. The Kelhari had made their choice. "Admiral," Thelmara said one last time, "promise me something. Promise me you will remember. Remember our worlds. Remember our people. Remember that we chose to save you when we could have saved ourselves. And one day when you are strong enough, make them pay for what they have done." "I promise," Doyen said, his voice rough with emotion. "Humanity never forgets a favor. And we will make them pay." Thelmara's image flickered and then disappeared. The crystal ship accelerated, moving faster and faster toward the enemy. The Varathians seemed confused, uncertain why a single ship would attack them. They were used to species running away, not charging forward. Then the Kelhari ship exploded. It was not like any explosion Doyen had ever seen. Light erupted in every direction, pure and blinding. The shockwave hit the Varathian ships like a hammer, crushing them, scattering them, destroying thousands in an instant. The entire enemy fleet recoiled from the blast, retreating to regroup. Yuna was crying openly now, watching as fragments of crystalline hull spun away into space. Each piece caught the light of distant stars, glittering like tears. 6 hours, Doyun said quietly. They bought us 6 hours. Navigation, plot a course using these new coordinates. Engineering, start implementing this new technology immediately. Communications, send word to Earth. Tell them to prepare every evacuation ship. We're leaving. Where are we going, sir? Asked Captain Minji. Doyen looked at the data package, at the incredible gift the Kelhari had given them. Somewhere they'll never find us. Somewhere we can hide and grow strong. And one day, we're going to come back. We're going to remember what the Kelhari did for us. And we're going to make the Varathians wish they had never heard of either species. The human fleet began to move, following coordinates to a place of safety. Behind them, the crystalline fragments of the Kelhari ship continued to drift, catching the light, beautiful even in death. Yuna downloaded every piece of data about the Kelhari people, their history, their art, their music, their stories, everything that made them who they were. She saved it all, backed it up a dozen times, made sure it would never be lost. Someone must remember, she whispered, echoing Thelmara's words, and we will. We will remember everything. As the soul jumped to faster than light speed, leaving the solar system behind, Doyen made a silent promise to the dead Kelhari captain. Humanity would survive. Humanity would remember, and one day, humanity would have its revenge. The Varathians had no idea what they had created when they forced that choice upon the Kelhari. They had no idea that they had just made an enemy unlike any the galaxy had ever seen, an enemy that never forgot. The long memory. 300 years had passed since the Kelhari gave humanity its future. Commander Minho floated in zero gravity, staring at the strange object his deep space reconnaissance team had discovered. It looked like a giant seed pod made of crystal, drifting in the darkness between stars. Its surface glowed faintly with internal light that pulsed like a slow heartbeat. Scan it again. Minho ordered his crew aboard the scout ship Busan. I want to know what we're dealing with. Ensign Suman worked her console quickly. Commander, the readings are impossible. This thing has been drifting here for over 300 years, but it still has power. The energy signature matches descriptions from the old database. Sir, I think this is Kelhari technology. Minho felt his breath catch. Every human child learned about the Kelhari in school. They learned about Captain Thelmara and his sacrifice. They learned how the Crystal People saved humanity when they could have saved themselves. The Kelhari were heroes, saints, legends. They were also supposed to be completely extinct. Get me Dr. Hana, Minho said. Tell her we need her expertise immediately. Within an hour, 3 more ships arrived. Dr. Hana was an older woman, a historian who had dedicated her entire life to studying the Kelhari. She had gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. When she saw the crystal pod, she actually gasped. By the stars, she whispered. It's a stasis chamber. The Kelhari used them for deep space travel before they developed faster engines. Commander, there might be someone inside. The team worked carefully, using tools and techniques passed down from the Kelhari database. It took 6 hours to figure out how to open the pod safely. When the crystal shell finally cracked open, cold mist poured out into space. Inside were 50 Kelhari frozen in time, their crystalline bodies dim but intact. They brought them aboard the Busan carefully, one by one. The medical team, led by Dr. Junho, worked frantically to revive them. The process was delicate. Wake them too quickly and their crystal structure might shatter. Too slowly and they might never wake at all. The first to open her eyes was a young Kelhari woman. Light flickered through her body as consciousness returned. Her eyes, like diamonds catching sunlight, focused on the humans surrounding her. Where am I? She asked in the old Kelhari language. Dr. Hana was the only one who understood. You are safe, Hana replied in the same language, her accent rough but understandable. You are with friends. You are with humans. The Kelhari woman sat up slowly, her body chiming softly with each movement. Humans, but the war. Thelmara sent us away before the final battle. He said he would follow. Where is he? Where is my father? The room fell silent. Dr. Hana felt tears forming in her eyes. She had studied the Kelhari for 50 years, but she had never expected to meet one. Never expected to deliver this news. What is your name? Hana asked gently. I am Chrystalis, daughter of Thelmara, princess of the Kelhari people. I demand to know where my father is. Where are my people? Hana took a deep breath. There was no easy way to say this. Your father died 300 years ago. He died saving humanity. He gave us the chance to escape when he could have saved himself. And your people. I am so sorry, Chrystalis, but your people are gone. The Varathians found every Kelhari world. They destroyed everything. You and the others in this pod are the last. You are the only Kelhari left alive in the entire galaxy. Chrystalis made a sound like breaking glass. Her light flickered wildly, dimming almost to nothing. The other Kelhari were waking now and they heard Hana's words. The sound of their collective grief filled the medical bay, a chorus of crystalline sorrow that made every human present weep. Days passed. The Kelhari slowly accepted their terrible reality. They were alone, the last survivors of a civilization billions strong. Chrystalis wandered the human ship like a ghost, her light dim, her movements slow. Then Commander Minho brought her to the observation deck. I want to show you something, he said. Through the window, Chrystalis could see other human ships arriving. Dozens of them, then hundreds. They came from hidden colonies scattered across space, all converging on this location. What is this? Chrystalis asked. This is humanity, Minho replied. There are 50,000 ships out there. 10 billion people living on hidden worlds. We survived because of your father. Because of the Kelhari. A massive cargo ship docked with the Busan. Its bay doors opened and Chrystalis saw something that made her light flare bright. Inside the ship was a crystal garden, carefully grown over centuries. Kelhari plants, Kelhari flowers, things she thought she would never see again. Engineer Junho approached, carrying a small crystalline object. It was a Kelhari memory stone, the kind her people used to record their history. We saved everything we could, Junho explained. Every piece of data your people sent us. Your history, your art, your music, your stories. We built crystal gardens on every human world. We teach our children your language. We sing your songs. We made sure that even if your people died, your civilization would not. More humans came forward. A young girl sang a Kelhari lullaby in perfect pitch. A teacher showed Chrystalis textbooks where human children learned about Kelhari culture alongside human history. An artist presented paintings of Kelhari worlds, places long destroyed but preserved in human memory. Dr. Hana brought the most precious gift of all. We call it the Kelhari Archive. Every human colony has a copy. Everything we know about your people, protected and preserved. You are not forgotten, Chrystalis. You will never be forgotten. Chrystalis felt something she had not felt since waking. Hope. But why? She asked. Why did you do all this? You barely knew us. One ship, one encounter, and then we were gone. Admiral Eugen entered the observation deck. He was an old man now, the grandson of Yuna, the scientist who had been there at the beginning. He looked at Chrystalis with eyes that carried the weight of 3 centuries. Because your father made a choice, Eugen said. He chose to save us when he could have saved himself. That is a debt humanity can never repay, but we can try. We have been trying for 300 years. He gestured to the fleet outside. We have not just been hiding, Chrystalis. We have been preparing. We have been waiting until we were strong enough. Strong enough to do what we promised your father we would do. What promise? Chrystalis asked. Eugen's expression hardened. To make them pay. Your father asked us to remember. We have remembered. He asked us to grow strong. We have grown strong. And now, we are ready to keep the rest of that promise. On the view screen, more ships appeared. These were different from the colony vessels. These were warships, sleek and deadly, built with both human and Kelhari technology. There were thousands of them, maybe tens of thousands. We have been building this fleet for 300 years, Eugen continued. Every human colony contributed. Every generation prepared. We have studied the Varathians. We have learned their weaknesses. We have planned and plotted and prepared. Chrystalis looked at the massive fleet, at the billions of humans ready to fight. This is all for us? For the Kelhari? No, Dr. Hana said softly. This is for what the Varathians represent. This is for every species they have destroyed. But yes, it started with the Kelhari. It started with your father's sacrifice. Humanity does not forget favors, Crystallis, and our revenge surpasses imagination. Minho smiled, and it was not a kind smile. The Varathians think they won. They think they wiped out the Kelhari completely. They think humanity is extinct too. They have no idea we survived. They have no idea what we have become. And they have absolutely no idea what we have been planning. Crystallis felt her light burning brighter, for the first time since waking. She felt something other than grief. She felt rage. She felt hope. She felt grateful beyond words. What do you need from us? She asked. Eugen looked at the 50 Kelhari survivors. Everything you know about your people. Everything you remember. Because we are not just going to destroy the Varathians. We are going to make them understand what they did. We are going to make them feel every death, every extinction, every destroyed civilization. And it starts with them understanding what they took from the galaxy when they killed the Kelhari. The preparation had taken 300 years. The revenge would be absolute, and it would begin soon. The pattern, the war room, was deep inside humanity's largest hidden station, a massive structure built into a hollow asteroid. Admiral Eugen stood at the center, surrounded by holographic displays showing the entire galaxy. Red dots marked Varathian territory. There were thousands of them, maybe millions. They covered almost everything. Crystallis and the other Kelhari survivors attended the briefing. They needed to understand what humanity had discovered, what humanity had become. For 300 years we have studied our enemy, Eugen began. His voice was calm, but everyone could hear the anger underneath. We have watched them destroy world after world. We have seen them consume species after species, and we have found their weakness. Specialist Somin stepped forward. She was young, barely 30, but she was the leading expert on Varathian behavior. She had spent her entire life studying the enemy that killed the Kelhari. The Varathians are not individuals, Somin explained. They are a collective consciousness. Every drone, every ship, every converted being is connected to a central network. When they assimilate a species, they add that species' knowledge and strength to their collective. This makes them stronger with each conquest. Crystallis felt sick. My people's knowledge is inside them? Our technology, our culture, everything we were? Yes, Somin said quietly. And not just your people. Thousands of species. Every civilization they have destroyed is now part of them. They have become impossibly strong because they contain the combined knowledge of half the galaxy. Then how can we fight them? Asked another Kelhari, a male named Seraph. Somin smiled, and it was a cold smile. Because they made a mistake. They optimized for conquest. They made their collective consciousness perfect for absorbing and controlling billions of minds. But they forgot something important. They forgot that perfection is fragile. One flaw and the whole system breaks. She changed the holographic display. Now it showed the Varathian network structure. Billions of connections pulsing with data. Every Varathian is connected. Every single one. If something affects one, it affects all. They think this is their strength. It is actually their greatest weakness. Engineer Junho walked to the center of the room, carrying a small device. For 300 years we have been preparing a weapon. Not a bomb. Not a missile. Something much worse. He activated the device. A hologram appeared showing a human brain, but it was different. Modified. Changed. We have bioengineered ourselves, Junho explained. Every human alive today carries modified genetics. We have made ourselves immune to Varathian assimilation. If they try to absorb us, our minds resist. We cannot be added to their collective. But that is just defense, Crystallis said. How does that hurt them? Dr. Taeyang stood up. He was the head of humanity's biological weapons program, an old man with tired eyes who had designed things he was not proud of. Because resistance is not all we built into ourselves. We built something else, something the Varathians have never encountered. The hologram changed, showing neural pathways lighting up in strange patterns. We gave ourselves something the Varathians removed from themselves millions of years ago. We gave ourselves enhanced emotional capability, guilt, remorse, empathy, but not normal levels. Overwhelming levels. Crippling levels. Crystallis began to understand. You made yourselves into a poison. Exactly, Taeyang confirmed. If the Varathians try to assimilate us, they will not gain our strength. They will gain our emotions, and because they are all connected, Those emotions will spread through their entire collective. Billions of minds will suddenly feel guilt for the first time in their existence. They will feel the weight of every species they have destroyed. Pilot Nari stepped forward. She was one of the modified humans, enhanced even beyond normal. But that is still not our revenge. That is just the delivery system. Admiral Yujin nodded. Show them. The holographic display changed again. This time it showed a massive data package. Crystalis recognized it immediately. It was the Kelhari cultural database. Every song, every story, every memory of her people. But it was not just Kelhari data. There was more. Much more. We have spent 3 centuries collecting information, Yujin explained. Every species the Varathians destroyed left traces. Ruins, records. Survivors who escaped and eventually died out. We found them all. We documented everything. We built a complete database of every civilization the Varathians have ever consumed. Salman took over. 37,000 species. Billions of individual lives. We have their stories. Their histories. Their final moments, everything. And you are going to make the Varathians remember them. Crystalis whispered, understanding finally dawning. Not just remember, Yujin said. Feel. Experience. Live through every death, every extinction, every moment of terror as the Varathians arrived. We are going to give them the memories of every victim they have ever created. And because we enhanced our own emotional responses, when they absorb these memories through us, they will feel it 1,000 times stronger than normal. The room fell silent. The Kelhari looked at each other, their lights pulsing with shock. That is monstrous, Seraph said quietly. Yes, Yujin agreed. That is exactly what it is. The Varathians spent millions of years perfecting the art of physical destruction. We spent 300 years perfecting psychological warfare. We are going to break them from the inside. We are going to make them feel what they have done. All of it. At once, Dr. Hana spoke up, her voice sad. We debated this for decades. Some argued it was too cruel. Some said we would be no better than they are. But in the end, we remembered what they did to the Kelhari. We remembered all the other species that died screaming. We remembered that the Varathians feel nothing. No remorse, no hesitation. They are killers without conscience. So we are giving them a conscience, Taeyang finished, and it will destroy them. Crystalis thought about her father, about Thelmara, who had sacrificed everything to save humanity. Would he approve of this? Would her people? She looked at the holographic display, at the faces of the 37,000 extinct species. She saw Kelhari faces among them. Children, families, people who had died in fear and pain. How will you do it? She asked. Pilot Nari smiled grimly. We send in a team, volunteers. They allow themselves to be captured. The Varathians assimilate them, and through them the Varathians receive the data package, the memories, the emotions, everything. It is a suicide mission, Junho added. The volunteers will be absorbed into the collective. They will cease to exist as individuals. But their sacrifice will deliver the weapon directly into the heart of the enemy. And then, Crystalis asked. Admiral Yujin's expression was hard as stone. Then the Varathian collective experiences 300 years of accumulated trauma in a single instant. Billions of connected minds suddenly feeling guilt, horror, and empathy for the first time. Their perfect unity becomes a cage. The same network that made them strong will ensure that every single Varathian feels the full weight of their crimes. Soman pulled up simulations. Based on our models, the collective will fracture. Some Varathians will shut down completely, unable to process the emotions. Others will go rogue, trying to escape the network. The unity that made them unstoppable will tear them apart. They will not die, Hana said quietly. That would be too merciful. They will live. They will remember. They will understand what they are, and they will have to live with that knowledge forever. Crystalis felt her light pulsing rapidly. This was revenge on a scale she could barely comprehend. Not violence, not destruction, something far more cruel. Humanity had figured out how to weaponize conscience itself. When? She asked. Soon, Yujin replied. We have ships in position. We have volunteers ready. We have waited 300 years. The Varathians think they have won. They think they are safe. They have no idea that humanity survived. They have no idea what is coming. He looked at Crystalis directly. Your father asked us to remember. We have remembered everything. Every death. Every extinction. Every crime. And now we are going to make sure the Vorathians remember too. We are going to give them a gift they will never forget. The gift of understanding what they have done. The briefing ended. As people filed out, Crystallis remained, staring at the holographic display of the 37,000 extinct species. Seraph approached her. "This is what humanity has become," he said quietly. "They do not just fight wars. They engineer nightmares. They spent 300 years preparing revenge. Not quick revenge, not simple revenge. Revenge that will haunt the enemy forever." Crystallis thought about it. My father saved them because he thought they were worth saving. Because they kept fighting even when they could not win. I think he would be proud of what they have become. And terrified. Both, Seraph agreed. Definitely both. Outside, the fleet waited. Volunteers prepared themselves for the mission. Engineers loaded the data packages. Everything was ready. Humanity never forgot a favor. And their revenge truly surpassed imagination. The Vorathians would learn this soon enough. The gift captain Yunji stood in the airlock looking at her crew one last time. There were 20 of them, all volunteers. They knew they would not return from this mission. They knew that in a few hours they would cease to exist as individuals, but they also knew their sacrifice would end the war that had lasted 300 years. "Last chance to back out," Yunji said, though she knew none of them would. Commander Hyunwoo shook his head. His specialty was cultural warfare, and he had spent his entire life preparing for this moment. "My grandmother's grandmother was on the Sol when the Kelhari saved us. This is for them." "This is for all of them." The others nodded. Each had their own reasons. Each carried the weight of 3 centuries of preparation. They were humanity's weapon, carefully designed and willingly deployed. The ship they traveled in was called the Memory. It was small, unarmed, and designed to look helpless. Perfect bait for the Vorathians. As they left the safety of the human fleet, Crystallis watched from the command center, her crystalline form rigid with tension. "They do not have to do this," she said to Admiral Yujin. "We could find another way." Yujin shook his head sadly. "There is no other way. The Vorathians must assimilate the data directly. It must enter their collective consciousness through human minds that have been enhanced to amplify emotional response. The volunteers understand this. They chose this." The Memory jumped to faster-than-light speed, heading directly into Vorathian space. For 300 years, humanity had hidden. Now they flew directly into the heart of enemy territory like a lamb offering itself to wolves. It did not take long for the Vorathians to notice them. "Captain." Yunji watched her sensors light up with thousands of enemy signatures. Vorathian drones approached from every direction, surrounding the Memory in a sphere of hostile vessels. They moved with perfect coordination, the way only a hive mind could. "Here they come," Yunji said calmly. "Everyone to their positions. Remember the training. Do not resist the initial assimilation. Let them take you. Let them think they have won." The Vorathian ships opened fire, but not with weapons meant to destroy. They fired capture beams, grabbing the Memory and pulling it toward their nearest collection ship. Yunji felt her heart pounding, but her hands were steady. The Memory was pulled into a massive Vorathian vessel. The bay doors closed behind them, sealing them in. Then the real horror began. Vorathian drones flooded into the Memory. They were not like any single creature. Each was a collection of parts from different species, stitched together by the collective will. Yunji saw limbs from 100 different aliens, eyes that did not match, mouths that should not exist. The drones grabbed the crew members, dragging them from the ship. Yunji went quietly as planned. She saw Hyunwoo being pulled in a different direction. She saw the others scattered throughout the Vorathian vessel. Perfect. The more spread out they were, the faster the data would propagate through the network. Then the assimilation began. Yunji felt something enter her mind. It was cold and vast, like falling into an infinite ocean. The Vorathian collective consciousness reached for her, trying to absorb her thoughts, her memories, herself. She felt herself being pulled apart, examined, catalogued, but she did not dissolve. The genetic modifications held. Her mind remained separate, resistant. The Vorathians pushed harder, confused. Why would this one not join? Why did this mind resist? Yunji smiled even as she felt her body being changed, being incorporated into the collective machinery. "Because I am human," she whispered, "and we have a gift for you." She released the data package. 300 years of collected memories flooded into the Vorathian network. 37,000 extinct species, billions of individual deaths, every last moment of terror, every plea for mercy, every child crying for parents who could not save them. All of it, amplified by human emotional enhancement, poured directly into the collective consciousness. The Varathians felt it all. For the first time in their existence, they felt guilt. Agent Jiwoo had been deep undercover for 5 years, surgically altered to pass as an assimilated human. She stood in the heart of the Varathian central nexus, watching as the network began to fracture. The change was not immediate. First, there was confusion. The collective mind stuttered, trying to process information it had never encountered before. Emotions it had deleted from itself millions of years ago came flooding back, but stronger. So much stronger. Then came the screaming. Billions of Varathian drones across thousands of worlds began to react. Some shut down completely, their minds unable to cope with the sudden influx of guilt and horror. Others started to malfunction, their bodies convulsing as their networked consciousness fractured. Jiwoo watched a nearby drone collapse, its multiple eyes turning toward her. For the first time, she saw something in those eyes. Not hunger, not mindless obedience. She saw awareness, understanding, suffering. "What have we done?" the drone whispered. Its voice was a chorus of 1,000 different species, all speaking at once. "What have we done?" The Varathian central nexus was in chaos. The great minds that controlled the collective were experiencing something they had never known. They were remembering their victims. Not as data, not as absorbed knowledge, as people, as civilizations, as children and families and entire worlds that had died screaming, and they felt responsible. Jiwoo activated her hidden transmitter, sending a signal back to the human fleet. "The weapon is deployed. The network is fracturing. The Varathians are feeling it. All of it." On the memory, Captain Yunji was barely conscious. Her body had been partially assimilated, but her mind remained stubbornly separate. Through the connection, she could feel the Varathian collective struggling. She felt billions of minds crying out in anguish. She felt the weight of uncountable deaths pressing down on the network. She felt the Varathians trying desperately to disconnect from each other, to escape the collective consciousness that had always been their strength. But they could not disconnect. The network was too integrated, too perfect. Every Varathian was forced to experience the full weight of their species' crimes. Hyunwoo, in another part of the ship, was having a similar experience. He had carried the Kelhari database specifically. Now, through him, every Varathian in the galaxy was experiencing what it felt like to be Kelhari. They felt Thelmar's final moments. They felt the fear of the Kelhari children as Varathian drones invaded their worlds. They felt 300 years of grief for a species that had been kind and beautiful, and was now extinct. And the Varathians understood, finally, what they had destroyed. Across the galaxy, the Varathian collective began to tear itself apart, not through violence, but through something much worse. Conscience. Some drones tried to self-destruct, unable to live with the knowledge of what they were. Others went rogue, fleeing from the network, trying to escape the shared guilt. Entire fleets stopped moving, their collective will paralyzed by remorse. The great Varathian war machine, unstoppable for millions of years, ground to a halt. Crystallis watched the sensor readings from the human command center. The reports coming in were almost unbelievable. Varathian ships were shutting down. Varathian-controlled worlds were going silent. The collective consciousness was fragmenting. "It is working," Dr. Soman said, her voice filled with awe and horror. "The network is collapsing. They are feeling everything." All at once, Admiral Eugen stood silent, watching humanity's revenge unfold. It was not glorious. It was not clean. It was terrible and beautiful and absolutely complete. "Captain Yunji is sending a final transmission," the communications officer reported. Eugen nodded. "Put it through." Yunji's voice was weak, distorted by her partial assimilation. "Mission accomplished. The Varathians have received the gift. They understand now. They remember. All of them. Every single one knows what they are. What they have done. Admiral, tell Crystallis her father's sacrifice is avenged. Tell her the Kelhari are remembered. Tell her." The transmission cut off. Eugen closed his eyes briefly. "Mark Captain Yunji and her crew has fallen. They gave everything. They succeeded. Across the galaxy, the Varathians continued to fragment. They did not die. Death would have been merciful. Instead, they lived. carrying the weight of 37,000 extinct species. They felt the pain they had caused. They understood the enormity of their crimes, and they would carry that burden forever. Jiwoo sent one final message before pulling out of the Nexus. They are crying. All of them. Billions of voices crying out in remorse. You did it. Humanity did it. The Varathians remember now, and they will never forget. In the command center, Chrystalis felt her light pulsing with emotion. This was revenge beyond anything she had imagined. Not violence, not destruction, but something far more powerful. Humanity had given the Varathians a conscience, and it was destroying them from within. Your father would be proud, Admiral Eugen said quietly to Chrystalis. We remembered. We made them pay. We kept our promise. Outside, the Varathian collective continued to fracture, screaming silently across 1,000 worlds, finally understanding the horror of what they had become. Humanity's revenge was complete, and it had surpassed imagination. The Memory Keepers. 50 years had passed since the Varathian collective collapsed. Ambassador Yuna too stood before the Galactic Council, looking at representatives from 300 different species. Some she recognized from the historical databases. Others were completely new, recently freed from Varathian control or discovered in hidden corners of the galaxy. She carried the name of her famous ancestor with pride. The original Yuna had been there when the Kelhari sacrificed themselves. Now her great-great-great-granddaughter stood as humanity's voice in a galaxy that had fundamentally changed. I call this meeting to order, said Council Speaker Throck, a massive creature with 8 tentacles and wise eyes. Ambassador Yuna, you have requested this address. The Council recognizes humanity. Yuna bowed respectfully. Around her, the Council chamber hummed with quiet conversation. Everyone wanted to know what the humans would say. Humanity had become known across the stars, but not as warriors. They were called something else now, the Memory Keepers. 50 years ago, the Varathian threat ended. Yuna began, her voice clear and calm. Not through weapons, not through warfare, through memory, through making them remember what they had done, through giving them a conscience they could not escape. She activated a holographic display. It showed the current state of the former Varathian territories. Thousands of worlds slowly recovering, billions of beings freed but confused, many of them barely remembering who they had been before assimilation. The Varathians are gone, Yuna continued, their collective consciousness shattered completely. The individual drones that remain are no longer a threat. They spend their days in mourning, remembering their victims, carrying guilt that will never fade. Some species might call this cruel. Humanity calls it justice. A council member from the Draxian Confederation stood. What about all the freed slaves? The billions of beings who were part of the collective? They have no memories of who they were. No culture. No identity. Yuna smiled. It was a warm smile, genuine. That is why we are here. For 50 years, humanity has been working on recovery and reconstruction. We call it the Memory Restoration Project. The holographic display changed, showing human ships landing on freed worlds. It showed human archivists working with confused former Varathian drones, helping them remember. It showed reconstructed cities, revived cultures, restored identities. We saved everything, Yuna explained. For 300 years, while we prepared our revenge, we also prepared for the aftermath. Every species the Varathians destroyed left traces. We found them. We documented them. We preserved them. And now we are returning those memories to the people who lost them. Dr. Minho, an elderly man, now stepped forward. He had been part of the team that discovered Chrystalis and the other Kelhari survivors 50 years ago. We have over 20,000 human archivists working across the galaxy. They help freed peoples remember their languages, their histories, their cultures. It is slow work. It will take centuries, but we are committed. The Galactic Council listened in amazement as humanity described the scope of their project. It was not just the Kelhari who had been preserved. Humanity had documented thousands of extinct civilizations, saving fragments of each so they could be remembered and, where possible, restored. The Kelhari themselves have been our greatest success, Yuna said, and her voice filled with pride. 50 years ago, there were only 50 Kelhari left alive. Today, there are 5,000. The holographic display showed Chrystalis, older now but still radiant. She stood in a crystal city, newly built on a world that had once been Kelhari territory. Around her, young Kelhari children played, their lights pulsing with joy. They had been created through careful genetic engineering, using DNA from the original survivors and knowledge from the Kelhari database. They are not quite the same as the original Kelhari, Yuna admitted. 350 years of extinction cannot be erased completely. But they carry the culture, the language, the memories of their ancestors. The Kelhari civilization lives again. Crystalis appeared on the view screen, joining the council meeting remotely from her world. Her light was strong and steady. Humanity kept its promise, she said, her voice resonating through the chamber. They remembered my father's sacrifice. They avenged my people. And then they brought my people back from extinction. There are no words in any language to express what they have done. But not all the council members were pleased. Ambassador Vorkith of the Mendari Empire stood abruptly. His species was new to the council, recently freed from Varathian control. You speak of justice and memory, but what you did to the Varathians was torture. You did not kill them. You forced them to live with unbearable guilt. Some call you heroes. Others call you monsters. The chamber fell silent. Everyone waited to see how humanity would respond. Yuna looked at Vorkith calmly. You are correct. What we did was monstrous. We do not deny this. We took a species and forced them to feel emotions they were not designed to handle. We made them suffer in ways that go beyond physical pain. Some humans argued against it. Some said we would become like them if we did this. She paused, letting her words sink in. But we did it anyway. Because the Varathians killed 37,000 species, billions of individuals. They felt nothing. No remorse, no hesitation. They were killers without conscience. So we gave them a conscience, and yes, it destroyed them. Another council member, a small avian creature named Chirik, spoke up. But why? Why go to such lengths? Why not just destroy them? Because death is easy, Yuna replied. Death is merciful. The Varathians killed quickly, efficiently, without thought. We wanted them to think. We wanted them to understand. We wanted them to remember every victim, every child, every destroyed world. Death would have been too kind. She looked around the council chamber, meeting the eyes of every representative. Humanity has a philosophy that guides us. We never forget debts. We never forget kindness. And we never forget cruelty. The Kelhari showed us kindness when they had no reason to. They saved us when they could have saved themselves. So we preserved their entire civilization and brought them back from extinction. The Varathians showed cruelty beyond measure. So we crafted a revenge specifically designed to make them suffer in proportion to the suffering they caused. Speaker Throck raised one tentacle. You're saying humanity operates on a principle of proportional response? Kindness for kindness, cruelty for cruelty? Exactly, Yuna confirmed. We remember everything. If you show us kindness, we will move galaxies to repay you. If you show us cruelty, we will craft nightmares tailored specifically to your nature. We do not fight wars the way others do. We study our enemies. We learn their weaknesses. We wait as long as necessary. Then we strike in ways they never expect. The council chamber erupted in conversation. Some species were impressed. Others were terrified. All were reassessing their view of humanity. Yuna waited for the noise to die down before continuing. I am here to make something very clear. Humanity is now part of the galactic community. We are here to help rebuild what the Varathians destroyed. We are here to preserve cultures and memories. We are here as friends and allies. She paused and her expression hardened. But we are also here as a warning. We have shown you what we did to the Varathians. We spent 350 years preparing that revenge. That is how patient we can be. That is how thorough we can be. That is how creative we can be when someone wrongs us. Young pilot Jiwon, the daughter of the agent who had infiltrated the Varathian Nexus, stepped forward. My mother died completing humanity's revenge. She and 19 others sacrificed themselves to deliver our weapon. We honor their sacrifice, but we also remember why they had to die. We remember what the Varathians did to the Kelhari. We remember every extinct species. Dr. Hana, ancient now and near the end of her life, spoke in a shaky voice. I have studied the Kelhari for 70 years. I saw Crystalis wake from stasis. I watched humanity keep its promise. But I want the Council to understand something important. We did not do this just for the Kelhari. We did this to send a message to the entire galaxy. What message? Asked Speaker Throck quietly. Hana looked around the chamber, her old eyes still sharp. That humanity remembers. That debts will be repaid. That kindness will be rewarded beyond measure. And cruelty will be punished beyond imagination. that we are patient, thorough, and creative, that we are the best friends and the worst enemies any species could have. Ambassador Vorketh sat down slowly, his initial anger replaced with something else. Respect, perhaps, or fear, maybe both. What if someone shows you both kindness and cruelty? Asked Chirrut quietly. What if the situation is complicated? Yuna smiled again, and every species in the chamber felt a chill. Then we will remember both. And you really do not want to know what humanity does when the situation is complicated. The council meeting continued, but the message was clear. Humanity had established itself as the galaxy's memory keepers, the species that preserved cultures and restored identities, but they had also established themselves as something else. A warning, a promise, a threat. On the Kelhari homeworld, Crystalis watched the council broadcast with her children playing nearby. They did not